In From, nothing is ever truly random. The town does not behave like chaos. It behaves like design that has been erased on purpose. People arrive thinking they are victims of coincidence, that they simply took the wrong road at the wrong time, but the longer you study the patterns, the more that explanation falls apart. Because there is one character who never fits that randomness at all, and that is Victor. Victor did not just survive the original massacre that wiped out nearly everyone in the town. He survived in a way that feels staged, almost curated, as if his survival were not the result of escaping danger but the result of being positioned inside it. Every child died. Every adult collapsed into silence. And Victor remained alone, untouched, in a world that had already ended. And right there, in that impossible moment, the boy in white appears. Not as a panicked child, not as a confused survivor, but as something that feels almost aware of its role in the event. He moves directly to Victor. He interacts only with Victor, and he leaves everything else to decay. That single choice changes everything, because it suggests that Victor was never just one survivor among many. He was the only one selected to continue. Now, before going deeper into this theory, this is your spoiler warning. Everything discussed here connects to all current seasons of From, including major character developments, revealed mysteries, and fan-based interpretations that also draw from community analysis across Reddit discussions, and breakdowns often referenced in outlets like Screen Rant and Collider. If you are not caught up, this is the moment to turn back, because once you start seeing the pattern behind Victor, you cannot unsee it. And if you enjoy deep mystery breakdowns like this, hidden symbolism, and theories that connect the entire structure of a show together piece by piece, make sure to subscribe. Because From is not built for casual viewing. It is built like a puzzle, and every episode is another clue hiding in plain sight. When you begin to analyze Victor's role over time, the theory becomes even more unsettling. Because Victor is not just someone who survived the past. He is someone who carries the past forward. His memory functions differently from everyone else in the town. While other survivors struggle with fragmented recollections, fear, and confusion, Victor retains a level of clarity that feels almost unnatural. He remembers layouts that should not exist anymore. He recalls events that others cannot verify. He holds knowledge that predates the arrival of most of the current residents. And instead of that information fading or breaking under trauma, it remains structured, organized, and usable. That alone raises a critical question. Why would a traumatized survivor retain the most stable memory in a place designed to erase stability? Because if the town is random, Victor should be broken like everyone else. But if the town is structured, then Victor's memory begins to look less like trauma and more like function. This is where the boy in white becomes essential to understanding the deeper mechanics of the theory. Because unlike every other entity in From, he does not behave like a predator or even a traditional protector. He does not simply save people, and he does not consistently intervene in obvious ways. Instead, his appearances feel selective, almost strategic. He appears when certain outcomes need to shift, not when suffering occurs. And his connection to Victor is the most consistent relationship he maintains across the entire series. That consistency is what makes it suspicious. Because if the boy in white truly had the ability to fully intervene, the town itself would not operate as it does. The monsters would not continue unchecked. The cycle of suffering would not persist. But it does persist, which means his role is not to stop the system, it is to manage it. And Victor, whether knowingly or not, is the anchor point that allows that system to remain stable. The massacre becomes the most important event in this entire structure because it represents the moment where the system resets into its most extreme form. We're never given a clear explanation of how it happens or why it unfolds with such precision, but what matters most is not the cause, it is the selection. Everyone dies except Victor. That kind of outcome is not statistically random in a narrative built around patterns and cycles. It suggests intentional separation, as if the event were designed not just to destroy life, but to preserve a single thread of continuity. And that thread is Victor, which leads directly into a darker interpretation. Victor was not saved from the massacre, he was placed after it. Positioned as the one remaining witness required for the town structure to continue functioning in the next cycle. And once you start viewing Victor as a structural component rather than a survivor, everything about him begins to shift. His behavior makes more sense not as a trauma response, but as preservation of information. His memories are not just personal recollections. They function like a record-keeping system. His presence is not passive. It is active within the logic of the town. He becomes less like a person and more like a living archive, a point of continuity that allows the town to retain history even when everything else resets. This is why he matters so much in relation to the boy in white. Because the boy in white does not simply appear around Victor. He appears through Victor's presence in key moments, as if Victor were the only stable connection between the physical world and whatever deeper mechanism governs the town. And this leads to the most unsettling conclusion of all. If Victor was chosen, then his role was never about survival. It was about necessity. The town did not spare him out of mercy. It preserved him out of function. He is not the exception to the massacre. He is the reason the massacre achieves its purpose. A living anchor point that ensures the system does not collapse into chaos or silence. And if that is true, then Victor is not simply a victim of the town. He is part of its operating structure, whether he understands it or not. So the real question is not whether Victor is important. It is whether Victor is aware that his importance was decided long before he ever understood what survival meant. Because in From, no one is ever just surviving. They are participating in something they do not fully see. And Victor may be the most important participant of all. One of the most overlooked details about Victor and the boy in white is that their relationship is built on trust, something that almost never exists in From. Every person who enters the town learns very quickly that nothing can be trusted. The monsters wear human faces. The voices coming from the forest manipulate people. The visions often lead characters toward danger instead of safety. Yet when Victor sees the boy in white, there is never the same fear or hesitation. Even as a child standing among the bodies of everyone he knew, Victor followed him. That tells us something incredibly important. The boy in white did not just appear after the massacre. He had already established enough trust for Victor to believe him in the darkest moment of his life. The question is, how long had their connection existed before the night everyone died? Did the boy in white watch Victor long before the massacre happened, knowing he would become the one who remained? The show also quietly suggests that the boy in white understands the rules of the town better than anyone else. He knows where people need to go, when they need to move, and which moments can change the future. He guides Victor to places he would have never found on his own, and years later, he continues to guide other characters when the balance of the town begins to shift. But his help is always limited. He gives just enough information to keep certain people alive, but never enough to completely solve the mystery. That creates a disturbing possibility. The boy in white is not trying to help people escape the town. He is trying to make sure the story of the town continues. If that is true, then Victor may not be his friend. Victor may be the most important piece in a game that has been played for generations.